Discover the amazing journey of 10 inspiring couples in Monaco changing lives forever. Sarah and David stood at the airport, their hearts racing with a mixture of excitement and fear. Their bags were packed, filled with dreams of a brighter future that shimmered like the Mediterranean sun. Someone once told them that opportunity was waiting just beyond their small-town horizon in Ohio. They had heard the whispers. Monaco, a land of luxury and hope, now was their time to chase the glittering promise of a life well lived. Little did they know, behind the glimmering yachts and high-end boutiques, the reality would clash dramatically with their idealized visions. As they stepped off the plane, the scent of salt water mingled with the rich aroma of café con panna wafting through the air. But the breathtaking views soon revealed the stark economic divides. Here, children's laughter mingled with the whispers of discontent from those less fortunate. The reality struck them: luxury coexisted with struggle, hope shadowed by hardship. This paradise held secrets Sarah and David weren't prepared for. David, ever the diligent worker, soon found a beacon of light in his cafe idea, a place of home-cooked meals, offering warmth and comfort to homesick souls. Morning after morning, he would brew coffee and whip up pancakes, creating dishes that reminded patrons of small-town gatherings. Each smile from a customer made his heart swell with pride. But one fateful day changed everything. A chance encounter with an elderly veteran shook David to his core. The man's weathered face, lined with stories, spoke of resilience and sacrifice. "I fought not just for country, but for community," the man said, his voice rich with emotion. David felt a connection deep in his chest. Here was a man who embodied all the values he cherished: neighborly support, kindness, and generosity. Those lessons resonated in David's heart, stirring a compassion he hadn't known existed within him. Meanwhile, Sarah faced her own destiny. She began mentoring local youths who felt trapped by barriers set before them, their spirits hungry for hope. The conversation sparked something within her, a fiery passion for social justice that she had buried, assuming it was unnecessary in their new world. With every hug and tearful listen, she learned not everyone in Monaco was basking in golden dreams. Some simply sought a chance to strive, to survive. Amid their successes and budding vision, a powerful natural disaster struck. The ground shook and homes crumbled, ripping through the facade of their seemingly perfect community. In the aftermath, 9 other couples rallied, messy emotions combining courage and fear. Every person stood on the edge: could love and unity prevail? Yet now, as families clashed over priorities, David and Sarah felt torn between their Ohio roots and this new life bursting with possibility. Questions pressed against them. Could they truly shine in Monaco while remembering the struggles they had once faced back home? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing together, with chaos swirling around them, Sarah and David sensed they were at a crossroads. As they began to rebuild not just the physical, but the very spirit of their community, a flicker of hope ignited within them. Would this journey unite them with their neighbors or tear them further apart? With the dawn ready to break outside, they were on the brink of transformation. Could love truly conquer and heal all? The answer lingered in the air like a promise waiting to unfold. The sun crept over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the rubble that once held memories of a thriving community. David and Sarah took a deep breath, inhaling the salty air mixed with the dust of destruction. As neighbors gathered for the first community meeting since the quake, an atmosphere of determination washed over everyone. They shared fearful glances but also nodded with quiet resolve. David stood at the front, heart racing as he clasped his hands together. "We have to come together," he urged, voice steady yet filled with urgency. "If we don't help one another, we'll struggle alone. Let us create a place of refuge, a community kitchen, where we can feed everyone and share stories while we rebuild." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, the hope of unity swelling in the air. People who had only exchanged polite nods before now looked into each other's eyes, recognizing their shared struggle. Sarah's heart swelled with pride as she imagined evenings filled with laughter, warmth, and togetherness, but a daunting thought danced in the back of her mind. Would her energy be enough to guide these friends toward a collective recovery? After the meeting, Sarah approached a group of youth who had gathered outside the makeshift meeting hall, sitting on crumbled stone. She sensed their frustration, the anger boiling under the surface. "I know this feels like too much to bear," Sarah said softly, kneeling to match their level. "But what if we started a youth coalition? You all have voices, we can channel that together." One girl, her face streaked with dirt and tears, looked up at Sarah. "What's the point? Nothing we say will change anything." With a deep exhale, Sarah knelt closer, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Change starts small. It starts with us. Let us make our ideas heard, and let us show the adults what we need. You have the power to create the future you want." In that moment, connection blossomed, a recognition of shared pain and shared power. They began brainstorming ideas, laughter filtering through the shadows of despair as they imagined their community rising, vibrant and renewed. While Sarah united the youth, David rolled up his sleeves in the cafe, transforming it into a hub for recovery. Each day, he witnessed people stepping through the door, weary but hungry. He offered them more than food, he offered a listening ear and shared space, piecing their broken lives together with warm meals and ready conversation. "Start by telling me your story," he would say, cupping their hands in his. Yet, just as spirits began to rise, the shadows of doubt crept back. David overheard whispers from a few patrons, murmurs about how slow the pace of recovery was, how decisions were being made without input from the most affected. "We need to be at the table," he thought, clenching his jaw. "It's not just about feeding their bellies, it's about feeding their voices too." And that night, beneath a twinkling sky, a decision formed in David's heart. He would not just run the cafe, he would also challenge the community leaders. They had to include everyone's voices in the rebuilding process, no matter the class or status. But as that thought settled in, another fear gnawed at him: would anyone stand with him? At dawn, David and Sarah met on the beach, sharing their plans and fears, the waves crashing against the shore like the uncertainty within them. "What if we are just two voices lost in the chaos?" Sarah asked, her brow furrowed with concern. David took her hand gently, gazing out at the endless blue. "What if our voices are the spark that ignites something greater?" With renewed conviction, they faced the challenges ahead, aware they were standing on the brink of not only their dreams but a movement of resilience. They could change lives, but was their passion enough to rally everyone together? As they walked back, a thought hung heavy in the air, urging them forward toward the unknown. Would they be the ones to harness hope in a land inundated with fear? A week had passed since that pivotal meeting, and the air hummed with a newfound purpose. David had gathered a small group of supporters, including Sarah, at the cafe, ready to discuss how to take their ideas to the community leaders. The cafe was alive with people, the soothing aroma of coffee mixed with the clamor of voices. It was a place where worries took a back seat to laughter and dreams darted between bites of food. As David scanned the room, he felt a mix of appreciation and anxiety. He'd spent countless evenings serving food, listening to stories, and witnessing firsthand the community's strength, yet he worried it might not be enough. "We can't just sit here," he began, breaking the rising chatter. "We need to create a plan. We need to be more than just survivors, we need to be the architects of our own future." The group nodded, their faces reflecting a blend of hope and skepticism. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes alight with enthusiasm. "What if we present a proposal to the town? Lay out exactly what the community kitchen can offer, not just as a food source but as a unity space. It could serve as a model for other initiatives." "Exactly," David replied, heart thrumming as they began to brainstorm. One person suggested adding workshops for skills training, another proposed language classes. Ideas bounced around like shooting stars, igniting the passion within everyone. After hours of collaboration, they had a comprehensive plan, neatly outlined on a chalkboard. As David stood back, admiring their effort, a flicker of doubt darted through his mind. But what if they ignore us? He murmured, mostly to himself. Then we make them listen, Sarah replied fiercely. Her tone drew everyone's attention. They couldn't afford to be disheartened now, not when their hopes shone bright. Equipped with their proposal, David and Sarah took a deep breath before heading to the town hall. The building loomed ahead, a stark reminder of authority and tradition. Inside, they took their place among the crowd of townsfolk, feeling both small and determined, like brave warriors taking up arms. As the leader spoke, addressing various matters about rebuilding, a discontent rippled through the room. David felt the tension rise, the whispers growing louder with each passing minute. Now or never, he thought, stealing a glance at Sarah, who was fidgeting with her hair. When the time came for public comments, David rose, heart pounding against his chest. "Excuse me," he called, voice cutting through the murmurs. All eyes turned toward him, the air thick with expectation. "I'm David, and I propose we focus our efforts on building the community from the ground up. A community kitchen, not just a food source but a place for healing." The room quieted, the looks shifting from curiosity to intrigue. Sarah stood at his side, her heart racing. She could feel the warmth of support from their friends behind them, even as the leaders exchanged cautious glances. David continued, fueled by the spark in Sarah's eyes. "We have the tools, the people, ideas, and above all, the will to rise together. If we don't include everyone in this process, we'll miss out on something larger than ourselves. We can't rebuild our homes without rebuilding our families and our hearts." With every sentence, he could see people lean in closer, hang on his words. This was the change they had longed for, not just to survive, but to thrive. But as nervous chatter erupted from the officials after his moment of vulnerability, David felt a twinge of uncertainty. Would they understand? Would they help or dismiss them? "Be brave," Sarah whispered, squeezing his arm. Her faith pushed him forward, but in that moment, an unexpected silence fell over the room. It was the mayor who stood up next, staring intently at David. "And what if we fail?" she asked, her tone measured but curious. Taking a breath, David met her gaze. "Failure isn't the end, it's a lesson. But inaction is what truly breaks communities apart." As his words echoed through the hall, the room fell once again into a heavy silence, their reactions uncertain. And then came a voice from the back, echoing uncertainty with a hint of support. "Maybe he's right." As murmurs began to bubble up among the audience, David's heart raced, both with hope and fear. Did he just open a door, or was this moment poised to become another dead end? He held his breath, waiting for the next words that would decide everything. Would they back him or close ranks, leaving their dreams hanging by a thread? The tension in the room felt palpable. David's heart thundered as he caught sight of the mayor's furrowed brow. She slowly turned to the crowd, her expression revealing a mix of contemplation and perhaps, just perhaps, a touch of sympathy. "Community isn't built on the fear of failing," she stated, her voice resonating with authority yet softened by a hint of understanding. "It's built on the hope of trying." A ripple of applause surged from the back, surprising David. A few chairs scraped back as audience members stood a little taller, seemingly emboldened by the mayor's words. David's breath caught in his throat, it felt like a glimmer of light cutting through the previous shadows. "Let us hear him out," shouted a middle-aged man sporting a faded baseball cap. "It's about time someone spoke up. We've got nothing to lose. And everything to gain." Another voice chimed in, a chorus of agreement swelling in the audience. David felt Sarah's presence next to him, her hand gripping his tightly. It was happening. "All right," the mayor said, her gaze shifting strictly back to David. "If we indulge this idea of a community kitchen, how do you plan to fund it?" David took a steadying breath, channeling the adrenaline coursing through him. "We'll start small, maybe a crowdfunding campaign. We can partner with local businesses who want to give back to the community. Plus, we can apply for grants aimed at community revitalization. He watched as heads nodded in the crowd, enthusiasm spreading like wildfire. But we also want to get people involved, Sarah interjected, her voice strong. We'll host events where community members can contribute food, skills, and funds. This isn't just about us, it's about creating a space for everyone. The mayor's expression softened further. A community rally? Exactly. David exclaimed, the excitement pouring out of him. A day of food, music, and workshops that showcase everything our community can offer. The momentum shifted palpably as more people began to speak up, urging one another to support the idea. Questions flew back and forth about logistics, about potential partnerships. In that moment, David realized he wasn't alone in this fight. Their collective energy was magnetic. As the meeting continued, David's heart soared. They set the date for the community rally. The small town hall, once a symbol of intimidation, transformed into a launching pad for their dreams. In the excitement, David felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. This was real. They were on the cusp of something beautiful. But just as optimism soared, a sudden jarring voice cut through. What about those who want to support the idea? A woman at the edge of the room spoke, her arms crossed. What if they fight us at every step? David's stomach tightened. He could feel the doubt creeping back in, fading the colors of his hope. Change is never easy, Sarah said, her unwavering strength shining through. But we're stronger together. They may fight us, but if we stand united, they'll have to listen. David wanted to believe her, he needed to. As the meeting drew to a close, the flicker of doubt in the back of his mind never extinguished, but he refused to let it dominate the hope lighting his heart. Walking out of the town hall under a dusky sky, David stole a glance at Sarah. The weight of uncertainty hung in the air, but something had shifted. He could feel it deep in his bones. This was just the beginning. Do you think we can really pull it off? He asked, his voice laced with hope. Absolutely, Sarah replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. Now we just need to keep the fire alive. Just then, a sudden rustle behind them caught his attention. David turned to see a figure striding toward them, a familiar face emerging from the shadows. It was someone David hadn't expected to see, and their presence could drastically change everything they believed. What are you doing here? David asked, sensing the weight of the moment. The figure smiled knowingly. I heard your proposal. And I think I can help. With that, the possibility stirred anew, leaving David wondering just how far this journey would take them. David felt a jolt of recognition as the figure stepped into the light, a local entrepreneur, Max, whose food truck had become a community staple over the years. His presence stirred mixed feelings in David. Max was magnetic, known for rallying people around his cooking, but he also had a reputation for being somewhat self-serving. What do you mean you can help? David asked, struggling to keep skepticism from leaking into his voice. Max grinned, a glimmer in his eye. I've seen the impact food can have on a community. Your idea, it's got potential, and I'd like to be a part of it. My truck can provide meals for your kickoff rally. Free, of course. David blinked. The offer stunned him, yet optimism surged. You do that for us. Of course. This community needs to come together. I've got the kitchen experience, and my crew can handle the workload. But we're going to need more than just food, right? He leaned in, lowering his voice, a conspiratorial spark lighting his eyes. We need a serious plan to keep the energy flowing after the rally. The kitchen won't run itself. David felt vibrant ideas flutter in his chest. True. We can offer cooking classes, meal prep sessions, maybe even a community garden. It's about sustainable growth. Sarah squeezed David's hand tighter. She seemed to sense his excitement, and it made her smile even brighter. Max nodded, his gaze sweeping over the small group forming around them. People want to belong. Let us keep the momentum moving after that first day. If you're serious about building this kitchen, I'm in all the way, he said, his tone shifting to one of genuine seriousness. A hum of excitement spread through David. This could be a turning point. Gathering the courage, he asked, "But what's in it for you, Max?" Max chuckled softly, the sound not unsettling but oddly reassuring. "I want to show that this town can thrive. Besides, there is nothing better than seeing people transformed by food." David let that sit. It could turn out to be a bold move or a misstep, he didn't know yet. But the energy buzzing around them reignited his hope. As they exchanged ideas, the gray sky began to darken, and David realized they had to keep pushing. "So, how soon can we meet to plan? We need to mobilize before the crowd grows cold." "Tomorrow, bright and early. The sooner we get rolling, the better," Max replied with keen enthusiasm. As they began to disperse, Sarah leaned in closer to David. "This feels right. We can make this happen. But what if people like that woman show up and throw obstacles at us?" David's voice trembled slightly. She smiled gently. "Then we face them together. Remember, community is about more than just positive voices. It's about how we handle the negative ones too." David nodded, convinced through her unwavering belief that they were stepping into something larger than themselves. The next morning, with a notebook full of ideas, David felt a renewed sense of purpose as he headed to their rendezvous point. But what lay ahead wasn't just about food. It was about unity, love, and building something they all could share. The hollow sound of his heartbeat echoed in his ears as he stepped into the small cafe where they promised to meet. Nervous and hopeful all at once, he scanned the room, searching for a sign of support. Then the door swung open, and in walked someone he never thought would be here, an old friend turned enemy, arms crossed, an expression of disdain etched across his face. "What are you doing talking to those people?" His voice dripped with skepticism. David's heart sank. This was not what he expected. Now, everything was about to get a whole lot more complicated. David swallowed hard. The air thickened around him, the tension palpable. His heart raced as he faced Jake, once a good friend, now a specter from a past that lingered like a shadow. Memories of laughter and camaraderie warped into this stark confrontation. "We're trying to make a difference, Jake," David managed, his voice steadying as he refused to back down. "You know this town needs unity. It's about bringing people together, not tearing them apart." Jake rolled his eyes, his skepticism palpable. "Oh please, you think a food truck is going to change anything? You're wasting your time with these pipe dreams." Ouch. The sting of Jake's words cut deeper than David expected. But he couldn't let himself falter now. Sarah stood beside him, her presence a comforting anchor. "It's not just about the food. It's about building a community. Something we should all be part of." "Community?" Jake scoffed. "That's just a buzzword. What do these people know about hard work? They're going to let you down." David clenched his fists but took a deep breath, keeping his voice calm. "People are ready to roll up their sleeves and get involved. We have plans, classes, kitchens, gardens. It's about creating opportunities and sparking hope." Jake's brow furrowed, but David pressed on. "What are we supposed to do? Sit back and accept what's handed to us? We're not waiting for a miracle anymore." The tension in the cafe was thick, but David felt something shift. For a moment, Jake looked startled, as if his friend's words had cracked through his armor. He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it again, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "I just don't want to see you hurt," he said finally, his voice softer than before. David's heart softened too. "This is bigger than us, Jake. You can either help us or keep doubting. But I want you on our side. This community is full of opportunities for everyone." Jake hesitated, glancing around the cafe, where others were gathering, some hanging on their every word, others just passing by. David's words were having an impact. "You really believe in this, don't you?" "I do." David smiled, already picturing the future they could create together. "It's time for us to lift each other up." But we need everyone to believe it's possible. The room hummed with energy. Conversations had started, and the atmosphere vibrated with hope. In that moment, David felt a joy he hadn't known in a long time. Okay, I'll give it a shot, Jake said slowly, as if weighing his words carefully. Let us see what this whole thing is about. As relief washed over him, David shared a glance with Sarah. Her eyes sparkled with pride, and it made his heart swell. But before they could engage more, the door flew open again, and in strode a wave of people, concerned faces and determined eyes. Among them was the woman from yesterday, her expression fierce. What is all this? She demanded, casting a praising eye over the group. David's stomach dropped. Why was she here? The possibility of their dream crumbling beneath scrutiny cast a shadow over his newfound hope. More challenges, he thought. He felt the tension in the room quickly shift again, uncertainty hanging in the air, ready to spiral out of control. Would they face this new adversary together or crumble under the weight of doubt? The journey they hoped to embark on felt precarious now. But they had come so far. Would David stand strong or let fear derail their dream again? David took a step forward, heart racing. The woman's fierce gaze felt like a spotlight on him, demanding answers. He had seen the fire in her eyes before, but now it was fierce and unyielding. He straightened his shoulders, refusing to back down. This is our community meeting, he said, his voice firm. We're launching a project to bring everyone together. It's about sharing food, skills, and hope. The woman crossed her arms, her posture rigid, as murmurs swirled around the cafe. Some patrons exchanged curious glances, while others seemed apprehensive. David could feel the weight of the room shift, sensing the imbalance between expectation and doubt. And you think throwing a few food trucks on the street will fix everything? She challenged, her brow arched skeptically. We've all heard sweet stories before, only to end up back where we started. He opened his mouth, ready to defend their vision, yet he hesitated. Could he convince her, or would she become another hurdle? We're not just throwing food at the problem, David said, each word laden with the promise of change. We're building something real. Classes, community gardens, mentoring. We want this town to thrive from the ground up. Words are cheap, David. Her voice cut through the air like a knife. What if people bail? What if you fail? The last thing this town needs is more empty promises. He felt the fire in her words, but instead of dousing his spirit, it ignited something fierce inside him. What if we succeed? He asked, directing his gaze around the cafe, seeking the faces of those who had gathered. What if, together, we turn these doubts into action? It starts with belief. We want to show everyone that we can create change. There was a moment of silence, a pregnant pause where the tension seemed to hang heavy before a couple of people began to murmur. He's right, an older man said from the corner, nodding slowly. We need something different. The woman's eyes flickered, uncertainty momentarily breaking through her tough exterior. Would the support of others chip away at her skepticism? David seized the opportunity. Come join us, he urged, stepping closer. We want to hear you out as much as we want to share. Let us all gather around this vision. You can guide us, challenge us, and help us stay grounded. Together, we can foster something real and lasting. A mix of emotions spread through the crowd, varying looks of hope, concern, and curiosity washing over faces. The woman tilted her head, a spark of intrigue igniting beneath her steely stance. All right, she said slowly, let us hear what you really have planned. I'll give you that chance. But I also expect results. David felt a green breakthrough, that sense of victory whisking through him like a wave. His eyes darted toward Sarah, and he saw her beaming, her smile full of the hope they had been dreaming for. Jake, still standing beside him, shifted his weight, seemingly contemplating his own voice in this chaotic symphony of hope and doubt. Before they could celebrate their progress, a distant siren suddenly pierced through the windows, echoing a warning that rang sharp against the walls of the cafe. David's heart sank as he turned towards the door. Anyone else think this town isn't ready for change? The woman asked, her challenge lingering in the air like smoke. David exhaled slowly, caught in the moment between their thrilling breakthrough and this ominous return of reality. What if they really couldn't handle another setback? The collective gaze of the cafe turned to him. He could either waver under the weight of expectation, or he could rally this newfound alliance into something extraordinary. Would courage win, or would doubt drown them yet again? The silence charged the space, and David knew the next step was all or nothing. David's heart raced as he stood there, aware of the shifting moods around him. The challenge from the woman and the siren's wail seemed to echo in his chest like a drumbeat, urging him to respond. He could feel the eyes of the town's residents on him, a blend of hope and doubt mingling together, creating a volatile mix in the atmosphere. What does this town need? David asked, his voice ringing with intensity. More funds that disappear. More promises that never see the light of day. Or do we take matters into our own hands? A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, spurred on by David's raw energy. Some nodded, while others shifted forward in their seats, leaning in. Sarah caught his eye, squeezing her hands together in silent encouragement. The woman's expression softened slightly. You may think you can lead this, but nothing, David cut her off, his passion spilling into his words. You're right. We've failed before. We've all felt that sting. But it's time to stop talking about what could be. We need to act now. We have a chance, and together we can turn things around. He felt the crowd's energy shift, rippling with fierce encouragement. We'll start small with those food trucks, sure. But we'll offer cooking classes, workshops for the kids, a space to gather. We can do this. A woman in the back stood up, her voice shaking with emotion. I want to help. I have some old recipes and skills to share. A man chimed in next, and I'm good with my hands. I can teach carpentry. Hope began to swirl in the cafe, wrapping around them like a warm blanket, pushing through the hesitance and doubt echoed by the woman. David could feel it, a genuine feeling of community rising like steam from the coffee mugs in front of them. Well, I'm not convinced, the woman declared, her sharp tone cutting through the growing excitement. You still need to prove you can create something different. I want to just stand by and watch you play at change. But what if we all rally together? Sarah's voice came through, steady and firm. Change is messy. It doesn't happen overnight. But we're all here willing to try. We want to lean on each other. There was a collective gasp as the cafe patrons looked at Sarah, inspired by her courage. The woman's eyes narrowed, contemplating. All right, she said after a long pause, a hint of respect creeping into her voice. You want my support? Fine. But you'll regret it if you fail. David could almost feel the air crackle, that spark of possibility crackling around them, igniting newfound determination. They had to embrace this, to drive forward despite the risks. Let us start planning, he said, his heart swelling with hope. Together we can do this. Let us meet here regularly, brainstorm ideas, hold each other accountable. Let us be the change we wish to see. With that, murmurs of excitement spread, voices rising as enthusiasm bubbled to the surface. David felt the shift, a collective belief morphing into something tangible, something they could all cling to. But just as the energy reached a crescendo, the siren wailed louder, not just an ominous echo anymore but a tangible reminder of the challenges the town faced. What happens if we don't make progress? The woman asked, her voice suddenly serious again. What if the town pushes back against us? David paused, his smile faltering for just a moment. He turned to the faces around him once more, seeking the courage he knew lay buried deep within. What if they face failure? Could they bear the burden of disappointment? He took a deep breath, determination filling his chest. If we stumble, we learn. If we fall, we help each other back up. This is bigger than all of us alone. There was a flicker of recognition in the woman's eyes, a tiny ember glowing stronger. As the crowd began to chatter and divide into smaller groups, brainstorming ideas, one thought lodged in David's mind. What would they unleash if they truly embraced each other's talents and passions? The air buzzed with excitement as he glanced at Jake, who seemed lost in contemplation. David couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to shift. Would they be able to withstand the test ahead? The stakes felt unusually high, yet this time, he felt they had the heart to go the distance. As the meeting took a new turn, weaving itself into a tapestry of cooperation and dreams, David could hardly wait for the next chapter of this journey to unfold. But how would the community react when the real challenges came crashing in? The atmosphere in the cafe shifted as small groups formed, each a bubbling cauldron of ideas and dreams. David could see the fire flickering in their eyes, a spark ignited by hope. He watched Sarah animatedly chat with the woman who had challenged him, her hands dancing in the air as she shared her vision. "We'll need a plan," Sarah replied, her voice steady, cutting through the clamor. "What if we set goals, like a festival to celebrate our community? Highlight what each of us brings to the table." The enthusiasm seemed to ripple outward, bringing others into the fold. David moved through the cafe, listening to snippets of conversations. People discussed schedules, equipment, and what supplies they could gather. It was a beautiful mess, each voice adding color to the canvas they were creating together. But with every ounce of hope, a weight lingered in David's chest. The siren's wail had summed up the town's troubles, that haunting reminder that all this might crash down. He found himself wondering if all this passion could withstand real resistance. As the meeting flowed, he overheard snippets of doubt from the corners of the room. "What if the town shuts us down?" whispered an older gentleman. "History shows they won't take kindly to change," someone else chimed in. David's heart sank. He wasn't naive. They all knew change was hard. It wore down the weak, crushed spirits, and twisted ideas into regret. "Remember, guys," he said, raising his voice to gather attention. "Negativity will always be there. We can either let it suffocate us or let it fuel our fire. I want to fight for this," a voice from the back called out. "Yes. Together we can." Jake, who had been quiet, you could practically hear the wheels turning in his head, spoke up. David felt the tide shift again, collective resilience battling against the looming doubt. They began hammering down their ideas, drawing a rough sketch on napkins and paper plates, laughing as they pursued the impossible. But as plans solidified, the cafe door swung open, revealing the town's mayor, his authoritative presence cutting through the exhilaration like a cold wind. Conversation stilled. "What's all the excitement about?" his voice booming with authority. Nerves buzzed around the room. David's gaze shot to Sarah, her expression a mix of concern and resolve. The mayor surveyed the room, taking note of scribbled plans and animated faces. "Don't think you can just step in and change things around here without consequences," he warned, his tone dismissive. "You're playing with fire." With his words hanging heavy in the air, uncertainty began to creep back in. David felt shadows loom over their earlier optimism. Would the small flame of purpose and determination sputter and die against such stark admonitions? "We can't let fear stop us," Sarah finally spoke, her voice rising above the silence. "We want to do this for our town. You may not believe in us now, but you will." The crowd stirred, murmurs igniting like dry leaves catching fire. The mayor's eyes narrowed, annoyance flashing across his features. But David could feel a shift. The challenge had been accepted. It was time to turn words into actions, to face the impending storm. "What happens now?" David asked, looking into the faces around him. They all mirrored his question, their enthusiasm reigniting, pushing against the mayor's imposing presence. "Things are going to get tough," the woman who had started this whirlwind said. "But aren't we all stronger together?" As uncertain as the path ahead seemed, David raised his chin and nodded. "We'll find a way. Together." With a deep breath, he stared down the mayor. This wasn't just about a project anymore, it was about proving that community could rise above fear and reclaim what was theirs. As they began to elaborate their plans again, the weight of impending challenges loomed in the corners, mingling with the delightful promise of what was to come. But David couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to receive their first hurdle, and it would test them deeply. What if the mayor's warning wasn't empty? What if the collapse came faster than they were prepared for? The sun rose on a new day, but the air felt thick with tension as David stood nervously in front of the town hall. Today was the day they would present their proposal, solidifying their plans in front of the town leaders, including the mayor, whose skeptical glare echoed the community's hesitations. Timidly, he glanced over at Sarah, who stood resolute beside him, determination radiating from her. "Are you ready?" she asked, squeezing his hand. "I am," he replied, though doubt tugged at his heart. "This is it. This could change everything." Finally, they stepped inside, armed with their detailed proposal and the hopes of the entire community behind them. The scent of polished wood filled the air, mingling with the whispers of anxious patrons milling about. As they approached the podium, David took a deep breath, steadying himself. "We're here today to present a new vision for our community," he began, projecting his voice with earnestness. "A community kitchen that serves as a hub for healing, connection, and empowerment." Glancing around, he noted the skeptical expressions among the leaders, including the mayor's furrowed brow and crossed arms. "This is more than just meals," he continued. "It's a lifeline for families in need, a space to fuel ambitions and dreams, a common ground to foster collaboration and inspire transformation." Whispers among the officials started to ripple, each word sparking hope and fear alike. The mayor's expression remained careful, but a spark of curiosity began to flicker. Sarah stepped forward, her words flowing like a healing balm. "We want to create a series of workshops from cooking to job training. We're inviting everyone, regardless of background, to be a part of this. It's about building bridges to share skills, resources, and stories." In the back of the room, David spotted familiar faces, neighbors, even Jake, nodding in support. A wave of encouragement surged through him. Yet even with the swelling hope, the mayor's voice cut through the air, incisive and sharp. "And how do you propose we fund all of this? Town budgets are already stretched thin. Partnerships, fundraising, crowdfunding." David exclaimed, the words tumbling out. "We can seek local businesses who want to invest back into our community, and we'll invite residents to contribute their skills and resources. It's about everyone joining forces." The mayor's eyes scrutinized them. "And what about those who will reject this? What is your plan for them?" David hesitated, swallowing hard. The shadows of doubt crept back in, and he noticed the worry etched on artfully painted faces around him. But urgency ignited inside him. "We'll listen, we'll engage, and we won't give up. We're ready to find common ground," he said passionately. An elderly woman in the front row stood up. "I've lived here my whole life." "You're right, we need community. But that is a tall order." "We know it's not easy," Sarah interjected, her voice steady. "But every step we take together is a step towards change. It's about uniting, not just surviving." As murmurs erupted, David took a leap of faith. "We want to create a rally to bring everyone together, expose them to what we can achieve. The excitement will spark momentum, will showcase the potential in this town." From the side, someone shouted, "When is the first rally?" David blinked, surprised by the sudden support. "In a month. We'll all work together to make this happen." With each cheer, he felt the weight of negativity lift. The mayor glanced at the gathered crowd, uncertainty in his gaze. "All right," he finally said, drawing the room's focus back. "If you can rally this support, I'll take it under consideration. But know this failure will fall heavily on your shoulders." David's heart soared. "We're ready for this," he vowed, locking eyes with Sarah. Together, the walls of apprehension began to crumble, and backing spread like wildfire. They had ignited something within their community, a spark of belief, the vision of rebirth, and the spirit of collaboration. As they exited the hall, laughter and excitement enveloped them, the noise of Potential hanging in the air like a sweet promise. I can't believe we did it, David gasped, practically breathless. One small step, my friend, Sarah smiled, brushing his hair back, sunlight catching in her eyes. The weight of uncertainty still lingered would they face the waves of adversity that awaited. But together, arm in arm, they took a deep breath, feeling the power of community thriving in their veins. And as they stepped out into a world eager for change, they knew this was just the beginning. The journey was far from over, but they were ready, heart, hand, and spirit intertwined to light up their corner of the world. Now it's your turn. If you want to witness this journey unfold, you need to subscribe now to follow all the exhilarating stories coming your way. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this channel buzzing with positive energy. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. What hopes do you have for David and Sarah? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation and ignite their own passions.